A man in his 50s walked from kingdom to kingdom with a handful of students. 14 years on the road. No ruler ever truly took him in. Some people insulted him to his face, said he looked like a stray dog that had lost its home. He didn't get angry. He laughed instead, and told his students that, in shape at least, the comparison wasn't far off. Later he went home, gave up chasing office, and taught under a big tree. Hard to believe, 2,500 years later, all of East Asia is still reading his collected conversations. Good evening. This is Bedside Book Voice. Tonight we're reading the Analects. If you're already lying down, you're in exactly the right place. This book was meant to be heard sitting, walking, or flat on your back. Dim the lamp a little. Set the phone a bit farther away. Pull the blanket up. Let me say the plain thing first. Tonight you don't need to memorize a single line, and you don't need to master all 20 books at once. Just follow my voice. Listen to an ordinary man think his way through how to live, one sentence at a time. When you're done, you'll carry away a few lines that can keep you company for a long while. Fall asleep halfway through? Don't worry. Confucius won't blame you. I won't either. That man wandered 14 years without being hired. How did he end up as the greatest teacher in the Chinese heart? The answer lives in something that doesn't quite look like a book. We'll get there slowly. The two characters in the title mean talk and words together, conversation records. Confucius never sat down and wrote this himself. His students gathered what they heard in daily life with their teacher. Later generations arranged it into chapters. Reading the Analects isn't like reading a thesis. More like sitting in on a conversation stretching across decades. Sometimes Confucius answers a student's question. Sometimes a student reports something odd he met on the road. Sometimes a few people chat in the sun with nothing urgent to settle. And in that easy back and forth, the whole question gets talked through: how to stand in the world, how to treat people, how to carry good days and bad days. Who was Confucius? His name was Chiu, courtesy name Zhongni, from the state of Lu in the late spring and autumn period. His father died when he was 3. His mother raised him in the small city of Tsufu, and money was never plentiful. Histories say he managed granaries when young, and later herds of cattle and sheep, before slowly becoming a minor local official. Those details matter. He wasn't born into the high hall. He knew how an ordinary person spends a day, what a meal, a job, a casual remark can mean. His deepest ambition wasn't fame online, was it leaving a name in lights? He wanted to restore ritual and music. By the spring and autumn era, the Zhou order had broken in half. Lords fought. Great families seized power. Ritual collapsed, music fell apart. Confucius wanted to pull hearts and order back, little by little, through education and self-cultivation. In his 50s he served as a high official in Lu and had a brief chance to put his ideas to work. Powerful men pushed him out soon enough. So he traveled through the states with his students, Lu Tuwei, Chen Dekai, speaking of humaneness, ritual, how to build a country worth living in. But rulers wanted quick victories and more land. Who had patience for a man slowly explaining how to be human? That's the opening picture, 14 years, and no one truly adopted his way. Between Chen and Kai, he and his students once went 7 days and 7 nights without food, hungry enough they could barely stand. Zilu, angry on his teacher's behalf, asked whether a noble person could be driven this poor. Confucius said when a noble person is poor, he still holds to his integrity. When a small-minded man is poor, he'll do anything. He wasn't lecturing from a safe distance about poverty. Poverty is the moment that shows whether a person has a backbone. Caught our last episode on the Tao Te Ching? You might remember this. Young Confucius once made a special trip to visit Laozi and ask about ritual. Laozi told him the words of the ancient sages may be treasured, but when people and bones have rotted away, only a few sentences remain. Tone down the pride in your manner. When Confucius came back, he told his students Laozi was like a dragon, impossible to grasp, impossible to pin down. Two sages, two sides of life. One taught how to live with the great pattern of the world. One taught how to live with the people beside you. Laozi leans toward the way. Confucius leans toward the human. Tonight we stay on Confucius's side. Now the opening circle closes. Why did the man compared to a stray dog become the greatest teacher? In Zhang, Confucius got separated from his disciples and stood alone outside the east gate. Someone described him to Zhigung, a man at the east gate whose forehead is like Yao's, neck like Gao's, shoulders like Zikan's, but from the waist down he's 2 or 3 inches shorter than you, worn out, like a stray dog. Zhigung reported this faithfully. Confucius laughed first. In shape, he said, the likeness was real enough. Then, compared with Yao and Gao Yao, he hardly dared accept it. Compared with a stray dog, that is indeed so, that is indeed so. A man who can laugh and take an insult has something farther than face on his mind. Rulers didn't use him. He didn't turn bitter. Hungry, he still taught his students what a noble person is. Readers of the Analects aren't picking up success tips. They're reading notes from a man the age wouldn't hire, who never stopped asking how a human being ought to live. The students had their own temperaments too. Zilu brave, blunt, often first to step forward for his teacher, sometimes reckless. Confucius corrected him to his face. Zhigung was eloquent, good at trade. Confucius once said, Zhigung, now I can talk poetry with you. Tell him what happened in the past, he'll infer what's coming. Zhangshan spoke little. Confucius called him slow, yet when he said my way is threaded through by one principle, Zhangshan could receive it. Yan Hui, poor and still glad, the brightest lamp in Confucius's heart. Reading the Analects isn't only watching Confucius. You're watching these young people grow into adults beside their teacher. The first word Confucius often leaves us is study, opening line of the Analects, maybe one you heard as a child. To study and in due season practice what you've learned, is that not a joy? The word for joy here isn't ordinary pleasure. Confucius tied learning to gladness. Not punishment. Not performance for parents or bosses. You read a book at night. Next day on the road one line comes back. You use it with a colleague or family, and something in you lights up softly. That quiet brightness, that's the joy practice brings. Second line, to have friends come from far away, is that not a joy? Third, when others don't understand you and you're not resentful, is that not the bearing of a noble person? 3 lines, study, friendship, freedom from bitterness. First with yourself, then with friends, then with people who don't understand you. Steady order. How did Confucius himself learn? He said, at 15 I set my heart on study, at 30 I stood firm, at 40 I was no longer easily swayed, at 50 I knew what heaven had given and what I should not force, at 60 my ear was attuned, at 70 I could follow what my heart desired without overstepping the bounds. Not a curve built in one day. A lifetime. If tonight nothing in you feels like it's stood firm yet, don't hurry. Confucius only reached follow the heart without overstepping at 70. You still have time. One more line that suits bedtime, review the old and know the new, and you may be fit to teach. Go back over what you thought you already understood, taste a new layer. Clear today, surprising tomorrow. Sleep works like that too. Leave an old problem through the night, by morning it may loosen on its own. Confucius had his own moments of forgetting sorrow. I threw myself into study and forgot to eat, I found joy and forgot worry, I did not notice old age drawing near. People often pictured Confucius as a stern old teacher with a fixed face. He could rejoice, forget sorrow, take real pleasure in yanhui eating from a single basket. A man who can find joy in daily life, that's who can teach others how to live. Study had a bottom line for him too: know when you know, and know when you do not know, that is knowledge. Sounds simple. Painfully hard in practice. Boss asks something in a meeting you didn't quite catch. How many people nod anyway? Confucius said that's not knowledge. That's pretending. Pretend long enough and you stop being real to yourself. Before sleep, be honest once: where today did I treat not knowing as knowing? Think it through, forgive yourself, try again tomorrow. Wherever three people walk together, there is sure to be someone who can be my teacher. Choose what is good and follow it, see what is not good and change yourself. Not modest speech for show, he lived it. Asked Laozi about ritual, studied the zither with Shixiong, sought instruction from Chang Hong, Tanzi, others. A man later placed on temple altars spent his whole life as a student. If tonight you feel there's nothing left for you to learn, let that sentence pass through your mind once. He had his own temper when he taught. Most famous method: do not open up a student who is not struggling to understand. Do not put words in the mouth of a student who is not bursting to speak. Show one corner, and if he cannot return the other three, don't go on repeating it. Not coldness, respect. Learning has to grow on your own body. What parents push, what bosses push often becomes coping. The moment you truly want to understand is what stays. Which truths did you only hear because someone scolded you? Which did you understand because you fell once? The second kind usually lets you sleep more peacefully. Silently keep what you learn, study without weariness, teach without fatigue. What difficulty is there in that for me? A line that reads well in the quiet of night. Weariness and fatigue were two thresholds Confucius marked for ordinary people. Many don't fail because they can't learn, they get annoyed after a few days, tire of teaching after 2 tries. Confucius treated not weary and not tired as ordinary things. That's how he could study from 15 to 70, teach from Lu through many states, teach again in Lu. The heaviest single word in the Analects is Rin, humaneness. Confucius never gave Rin one neat definition. Different students, different answers. Fan Shi asked about Ren. Love people, he said. Loving people isn't a slogan shouted into the air. It's seeing the person in front of you. Zhigang asked, wish to stand yourself, then help others stand, wish to advance yourself, then help others advance. Yen Hui asked, restrain the self and return to ritual, that is run. Ren doesn't float in the sky. It lands on how you treat the people beside you. Zhong Gong once asked about run. When you go out, treat everyone as if you were receiving a great guest. When you employ the people, act as if you were presiding over a great sacrifice. What you do not want done to yourself, do not do to others. In public life, seek to give no cause for resentment. In family life, seek the same. Those 8 words, what you do not want done to yourself, do not do to others, later became the way of forbearance, the line in Confucius closest to ordinary life. Lying here tonight, think back on today. A harsh sentence someone hurt you with, thrown back unchanged? You don't need to punish yourself into sleeplessness. Knowing is enough. Try tomorrow to throw one less run, will have grown a little. So what does Rin look like when you actually live it? Confucius kept the answer plain: be respectful in daily life, earnest in your work, loyal with people. No tricks. 3 ordinary habits. I keep thinking of Ziyu napping in broad daylight. Confucius was furious. Rotten wood cannot be carved, he said, a wall of dung cannot be whitewashed. That student had crossed a line. Then there is Yen Hui, so poor he lived on 1 basket of rice and 1 gourd of drink in a narrow lane, and Confucius praised him for not losing his joy. Same teacher. Same standard. Different people in front of him, so different answers. Ren, at bottom, means seeing the person, not just the label. When Fan Shi asked what Ren is, Confucius sometimes answered in one breath, the humane person takes hardship first and reward later, that may be Ren. He also said the humane rest in humaneness, and the wise profit by humaneness. If your home is in Ren, helping does not feel like a debt, and you are not counting on a thank you note. That is what resting in Ren feels like. If every gift goes on an inner scale, will this come back to me? Ren is still a step away. The next word makes a lot of people frown right away, as if it only means old rules and old hierarchy, Li ritual. For Confucius, Li was never just bowing and scraping. He said, restrain yourself and return to ritual, that is Run. Ritual is reverence in the heart given a visible shape. When Lin Fang asked about the root of ritual, Confucius said, what a great question. The greatness of ritual is in its spirit, not the ornament. Form without heart is not ritual. Heart without form, nobody can see, so you need a fitting way to show it. When Confucius entered the Grand Temple, he asked about every detail. In the state's most solemn place of sacrifice, he wanted each step clear. People whispered behind his back, why does this man ask about everything? Is he showing off? Confucius heard them and said, that is ritual. I ask because ritual must not stay vague. He was not playing ignorant. He was afraid of a floating heart, afraid habit would turn sacred acts into routine. Think of a wedding, a funeral, your company's annual dinner. If only the schedule is left and the heart is gone, asking at every step in the Grand Temple is the reminder, slow down, ask once, what is this step actually honoring? Confucius cared about ritual's details, but what he wanted was measure, not torment. In sacrifice, be as reverent as if the spirits were truly there. Back in the village, be easy with country people, no airs. Strict where strictness belongs. Relaxed where relaxation belongs. Ritual does not teach you to walk around tense everywhere. It teaches you when to stand straight and when to let your shoulders drop. Each in his place, ruler as ruler, minister as minister, father as father, son as son, gets attacked as rank and oppression. In the talk with Duke Jing of Qi, the point was simpler, each person in his role, each doing his part, and the world does not fall apart. The stress is on like fit for the role, carrying the responsibility, not just taking advantage. A ruler should rule as a ruler ought. A father should father as a father ought. A child should child as a child ought. Put it in our terms, if you lead, lead like a leader, if you parent, parent like a parent, if you work as an employee, work like one, if you are still a child in the house, be a child with respect. Not who crushes whom, who fails his own part. One word from ritual is especially useful tonight, harmony. In the use of ritual, harmony is what is prized. Ritual is meant to let relationships flow, not pull them tight until they snap. Who sits where at dinner, the weight of a gift, who speaks first, on the surface these are forms. Underneath there is one idea, do not embarrass people, do not trap them where they cannot step down with dignity. You come home late from overtime and snap at family. Often love has not vanished. You forgot harmony is prized. You forgot the other person also deserves to be treated well. One line is easy to get backwards, the noble person harmonizes but does not merely agree, the small-minded man agrees but does not harmonize. A noble person can live among different people and still keep his own judgment. A small-minded man looks like everyone else in the room while each keeps a separate scheme, never truly joining. Company meeting, everyone nodding, then afterward each undermines the rest, that is agreeing without harmony. A few people differ in view yet finish the work together, that is harmonizing without mere agreement. Ritual wants the second kind, not false peace. When Zio asked what should come after the people had been transformed by ritual and music, Confucius said, I have heard that in ancient teaching, virtue came first, then ritual, so that the people had a sense of shame and corrected themselves. Ritual is not a club. It is the line inside you that says this is embarrassing. As a child, one look from your mother and you got it. That kind of understanding lasts longer than a beating. That inward ritual is what Confucius wanted. We are about halfway through the program. In this small pause for breath, I have one gentle request. If this voice has kept you company tonight, tap like and subscribe. Think of it as leaving a lamp burning for me in the dark. You do not need to sit up. One finger is enough. Good. Let us return to Confucius. Next, we need to talk about the kind of person who shows up most often in the Analects, the noble person, Junzi. For Confucius, Junzi did not mean noble birth. It meant someone whose character stands firm. He said, the noble person is not a vessel, not a tool built for one use only. A human being cannot only write code, only socialize, only take exams. You have to be wider than a tool. He also said, the noble person understands what is right, the small-minded man understands what pays. That sounds heavy, but Confucius had held office himself. He knew the cost of living. He was not telling you not to eat. He was telling you that when righteousness and profit collide, you should know which side weighs more. Here is a line that sounds written for people who work late: be quick in action and careful in speech. Many of us do the opposite: fast with words, slow with deeds, pledge first and regret after. The noble person does the work first. Words need not be many. If tonight you regret speaking too much today, tomorrow try being quick in action. If you regret doing too little, try that too. Careful in speech does not mean silence. It means before a sentence leaves your mouth, pass it once. Does it wound? Is it true? Is it necessary? This one is good before sleep. The noble person is calm and at ease. The small-minded man is always full of worry. Calm does not mean no trouble. It means trouble does not knot into a lump you chew all night. You lie down, and your mind still turns over one angry sentence from daytime, one look that stung. You cannot sleep, that is worry doing its work. Confucius is not asking you to stop thinking on command. He is saying even noble people meet hard things, but try not to let the hard thing grow thorns that pierce you through the night. Another line: the noble person seeks it in himself, the small-minded man seeks it in others. The noble person asks something of himself first. The small-minded man asks everything of everyone else. In families and companies, complaint points outward most easily. Confucius turns the mirror inward first. That does not mean carrying every fault alone. It means asking first, what can I change? Change one thing, and the night grows lighter. Opposite the noble person, Confucius also speaks of the small-minded man, but he rarely points and scolds. More often he warns his students, do not become that. Clever words and an ingratiating face seldom paired with humaneness. To have faults and not reform them, that is truly to have faults. None of these float high in the sky. All of them are mirrors for an ordinary evening. Confucius had a standard for friendship too. He said, there are 3 kinds of friendship that help, and 3 that harm. Be friends with the upright, with the sincere, and with those of wide hearing, that helps. Be friends with the flattering, with the smoothly agreeable, and with the glib, that harms. You do not need to delete anyone from your contacts tonight. Just ask, who draws me toward honesty and trust, and who teaches me to perform? To know that much is enough. Linked with righteousness is a hard sentence. The noble person takes righteousness as his substance, ritual as his practice, modesty as his expression, and trustworthiness as his completion. Righteousness is the inner scale. Should this be done, and will doing it trouble the conscience? When Zillow asked about the noble person, Confucius said, cultivate the self with reverence, cultivate the self so that those near are at peace, cultivate the self so that the people are at peace. First make yourself respectful. Then settle those around you. Then speak of larger things. The order cannot be reversed. Plenty of people want to change the world while their own bed is still in disorder and their words already reach the sky. Confucius did not oppose ambition. He opposed empty ambition. What comes next is a quality often lifted out on its own in the Analects, yet joined at the root with the noble person: trust xin. Zixia said, in friendship, keep your words trustworthy. Xingzi asked whether, in serving others, he had done his utmost. In friendship, he had been trustworthy. Trust shows up again and again in the Analects, bound together with rin, righteousness, and ritual. Confucius even said, a person without trust, how can he be used? A great cart without its crossbar pin, a small cart without its linchpin, how can they travel? Without the piece that joins, the cart cannot move. Without trust, a person cannot go far. There is a famous story. Zhengzi's wife was going out, and their son cried to follow her. She comforted him by saying that when she came back she would kill the pig for him. When she returned and really meant to kill the pig, Zhengzi stopped her. You cannot deceive a child, he said. She answered that she was only soothing him, not setting law for the world. Zhengzi said the child is small and can only learn from his parents' example. If you deceive him today, you teach him to deceive. So they killed the pig. Later generations shaped this story from Zhengzi's conduct. The details may not all be exact, but the point holds. In the line of Confucius, trust is not a slogan for strangers. It is not cutting corners even with those nearest you. Trust has another layer, responsibility for your own words. Confucius said, in ancient times people were slow to speak, because they were ashamed if their bodies could not keep up with their words. You promise to rise early tomorrow, and tomorrow you do not. What fails is not only the alarm. It is one more break in trust with yourself. Before sleep, make fewer promises and keep more. That helps more than memorizing famous lines. Next comes one of the warmest sections in the Analects, filial piety and friendship. Filial piety is not blind obedience. Zhou once asked, while your parents are alive, should you stay close and not travel far? Confucius said yes. Zhengzi got called slow by his teacher. Still, one of his lines traveled the farthest. Each day I examine myself 3 times. Did I do my best for others? Was I trustworthy with friends? Did I review and practice what I was taught? For Zhengzi, filial piety and living earnestly were the same thing. Zhou asked about filial piety. Confucius answered, today people call it filial if you can support your parents. But dogs and horses get fed too. Without reverence, what makes you different? Zixia asked the same question. Confucius said the hard part is your face. Young people do the work. Elders eat first when there is food and wine. Is that enough? No. The hardest part is not the money or the chores. It is whether you mean it. Not annoyed inside and calm outside, but actually wanting to treat them well. You drag home after overtime. Your mother has kept dinner hot and asks if you are tired. You grunt hm. The food smells good, yet something is missing. Confucius also said, be careful at funerals and honor distant ancestors, and people's virtue runs deeper. That is not superstition. It is remembering where you came from and who ate hardship before you. Before sleep tonight, give 1 minute to elders still living, 1 minute to those already gone. The heart loosens a little. Tomorrow you treat people a little more gently while parents are alive. Do not travel far away. If you must go, have a clear purpose and keep them informed. Today travel is easy, so you do not need to read this as never leaving town. It means the living deserve your word, your contact, your care. They should not be left worrying in the dark. He came back again to that line about support. Dogs and horses get fed. Without reverence, what is the difference? Money wired home, phone never picked up, body always somewhere else. That is not filial piety. What matters is reverence. Being seen. Being held in someone's heart. On friendship, we already heard that having friends come from far away is a joy. Confucius also said, let your friends be trustworthy. Between friends, trust comes first. Zisha put it simply, in friendship, keep your word. Say what you mean. You promised to help tomorrow? Help tomorrow if you can. If you cannot, say so early. Trust is the thread that lets two people sleep at night. When it slackens, the whole thing starts to rattle. Point one scene gets me every time. Yan Hui died. Confucius wept hard and said, "Heaven is destroying me, heaven is destroying me." His students told him he was grieving too much. Confucius answered, "If not for him, for whom?" When your best student dies first, a teacher is not performing grief. He is actually broken. Still, inside grief there is memory. While Yan Hui lived, Confucius praised him for not venting anger elsewhere and for not repeating the same mistake. Those two lines belong on a tombstone more than the word genius. Later Zilu died before Confucius too. Confucius wept in the courtyard, "Heaven blesses me, heaven blesses me." Then again, Zilu, "Heaven is destroying me." Zilu was buried in Wei. Zhigung asked, "Should we mourn him as a teacher's death, or as a fellow student?" Confucius said, "For me, a fellow student. I treated Zilu as my own." Read this far and you see it plainly. The Analects is not success literature. It is a teacher showing how several young lives got woven into his own. You do not need 3,000 disciples. If you have ever truly cared for someone, and someone has truly cared for you, you know why Confucius wept. By now you might wonder, with all this talk of ritual and humaneness, did Confucius himself live well, honestly, by ordinary worldly measures, not what people call success? Politically, he never got to live his ideal. In old age he lost a son. Yan Hui, the student he loved most, died before him. Yet Confucius had one line that flips the whole question of worth: "If in the morning I hear the way, I may die in the evening without regret." The way here is not something mystical. It is everything we have been talking about: how to study, how to be humane, how to use ritual, how to be human. He was not shouting slogans. He was saying that if one day in a life you truly understand, that day is enough. Another line sounds hard and turns out to be tender: "No, it cannot be done, and still do it." Traveling through the states was knowing it could not be done and still doing it. Editing the spring and autumn annals in old age was the same. That is not foolishness. It is refusing to hand the world over to people who only know how to win. If tonight work feels pointless and the day feels wasted, hold on to those 6 words. Not everything has to show results right away. Some persistence is for who you are becoming. On politics he spoke plainly too: lead them with government orders and keep them in line with punishment, and the people will avoid wrong but have no sense of shame. Lead them with virtue and keep them in line with ritual, and they will have shame and reform themselves. He was not against law. He was saying fear alone is not enough. People need an inner line that knows what is embarrassing. Managing a team or a household works the same way. The harshest scolding is weaker than helping someone want to change. His political picture was small and quiet: let the old be at peace, let friends be trustworthy, let the young be cherished. Not grand. Not loud. Yet think it through: a country, a company, or a home that actually lives those 3 lines is already a good place. In old age Confucius spoke less and thought more. Zizhang asked, "Teacher, if you had your way in the world, what would you do first?" Confucius said, "Surely rectify names. If names are not correct, speech does not follow. If speech does not follow, affairs do not succeed. If ruler is not ruler and father is not father, everything below turns chaotic." People call this conservative. For Confucius it was more like, get the basic terms clear, then talk about ideals. Same for you. Say I will sleep early, yet the name and the deed do not match, and the affair fails. Say I will treat people well, yet you are gentle to the boss and harsh at home, the name is still wrong. At last Confucius returned to Lu, sought office no more, and gave himself to teaching and arranging the classics. Tradition says he died at 73. His students mourned him as they would a father. Zigong wanted to mourn at the grave 3 years and then 3 more. The story of Zigong's hut beside the tomb was recorded by later hands. Details may not all be exact, but the feeling is real. A man rejected by many rulers in life became teacher to countless ordinary people after death. The fact itself is like another line of his: virtue does not stand alone, it is never without neighbors. You cannot finish all 20 books of the Analects in one night, and we are not trying. Just keep a few pictures. The old teacher under the great tree. Master and disciples still talking about how the noble person holds firm in poverty while hunger gnaws. Yan Hui smiling in a narrow lane. Confucius delighted when a student answered a diplomatic challenge with lines from the book of poetry, saying that if Yan Hui could do this again, what would I have to worry about? A teacher is happiest not when students memorize most, but when they actually use what they learned. One more scene to keep. At Kuang, Confucius was surrounded and his students were afraid. He told them, "King Wen is gone, but is not culture here in me? If heaven wished to destroy this culture, those who come after could not receive it. If heaven does not wish to destroy it, what can the people of Kuang do to me?" That is not arrogance. It is faith that some things are bigger than one win or one loss. If tonight felt especially wrong, remember, today was rough, but you are still here, still listening, still thinking about how to live. Culture has not broken yet. Confucius had things to say about old and young too. The young are to be respected. Who knows, maybe those who come after will equal us, or pass us. He also said, let the old be at peace. Not just feed them. Peace in the heart. If you have parents or elders, one message, one call, can start that. You do not need to wait until you are rich to show filial piety. You do not need to wait until you have free time to reach out. The starting line for ritual is right here. The whole book comes down to 4 words: viewed from afar, dignified, approached, warm. Confucius himself was like that. Not a cold saint on a pedestal. A man who could get angry, crack a joke, weep for his students. You do not need to put him on an altar when you read the Analects. Take him as a very old, very real person willing to talk with you. That is enough. To close tonight, one passage about litigation to help you settle. Confucius said, in hearing lawsuits, I am like anyone else. What matters is making litigation unnecessary. The ideal is not winning a case. It is fewer grudges, fewer torn faces. What you do not want done to yourself, do not do to others breathes in the same spirit. At odds with someone tonight? You need not reconcile this second. First, judge one case less in your heart. Sleep will be lighter. I have said a great deal tonight, and you do not need to remember any of it. Truly, not one line. The Analects was not made for memorization. It is like an elder you pass on the road. Hear 2 sentences and that is enough. Fall asleep carrying only a little feeling, perhaps what you do not want done to yourself, do not do to others, perhaps when others do not understand you, do not grow resentful, perhaps the old man who walked 14 years and finally laughed, admitting he looked like a stray dog, before good night. One small question for you, among all these lines tonight, which one do you most want to place beside your pillow? Is it to study and in due season practice? Is it the noble person is calm and at ease? No need to answer now. After you wake, tell me in the comments. I read every one. If you like nights like this, subscribe to the channel and tap the little bell. On the next sleepless evening, I will be able to find you again. Next time we read Zhuangzi. Do you remember the old man riding an ox westward when young Confucius went to ask about ritual? Laozi leaned toward the way. Confucius leaned toward the human. Zhuangzi will teach us that beyond the human world there is another way to breathe. There is one line from the Analects I want to leave with you as tonight's ending. Nothing fits this moment better. The master said, "It passes on like this, never ceasing day or night. Time flows like water, without stopping. You have been busy all day. Now is the hour when the current slows and you give yourself to the bed. Do not chase it. Do not clutch it. Let it flow its way. You sleep yours, let the lamp stay dim. Nothing needs to be fought for. Nothing needs to be performed. Tomorrow you will live among people again. Tonight be only the lightest part of being human, a person lying down." If Confucius were watching, he might say that is already enough. Set today down. Leave tomorrow for tomorrow. Sleep now. Good dreams to you tonight. We will meet in the pages tomorrow morning. This is Bedside Book Voice. Good night, see you in the pages.